Buddham Sri Guru Sri Gita Padakamalam
Jnana Chakravarti Tasmai Shri Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale
Rupam Chakravarti Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Shadaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sadhana Dalita Sri Vishakhanitanushtam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sadhana Daita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur-bhakta-vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur-bhakta-vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur-bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama
Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to Bhakti Shastri class and Gita Sastri class. Thank you so much for joining us live. We'll begin the session. It's day 12 today. We are discussing second chapter of Bhagavad-gita. We will chant the Mangalacharana prayers first. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरतुषे नमः हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्ते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Welcome everyone. We are studying chapter 2 of Bhagavad-gita, contents of the Gita summarized, also known as Sankhya Yoga, and we have covered verses 1 to 16. In the previous verse, we discussed about two things, temporary and permanent, Sat and Asat, right? So in this chapter, to revise, we discussed about the fifth reason of Arjuna to not fight the battle. Arjuna surrendered to Krishna, and then Lord Krishna first rebuking Arjuna, chastising him in order to shake him up and wake him up to the reality. And then he gives to him the knowledge of Atma, spirit, soul, Atma Gyan. Why he does so? In order to make Arjuna come out of his state of lamentation. He has developed material compassion for his family members. And Krishna wants to help Arjuna come out of that, rise above that by giving higher knowledge, which is knowledge of spirit, soul. So Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, we all have existed in the past, we are existing in the present, we shall continue to exist in the future. The body is always going to change. It transforms from the state of babyhood to youthhood to old age, and at the time of death, a person leaves the body to go to another body. And Arjuna says, well, but I love that person in that particular body. So Krishna says, you need to tolerate. Matra sparshastha kaunteya, sitoshna sukha dukkha. Suffering will come, it will go. Happiness will come, it will go. You just need to accept life like that and continue doing what you're supposed to do. And then Lord Krishna tells that one who does so attains liberation. He spoke that in verse 15. And then he said, those who are learned people, they always know the difference between temporary and permanent. Temporary is called asat and permanent is called sat, right? So now in the coming verses, which we'll discuss today, in few of them, Krishna is going to give a contrast between the temporary and the permanent, between the body and the spirit soul. Before we dive into that, let's quickly chant that we have decided for this particular section of the course. Obeisances to Srila Vyasadeva. Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Fullarvindayata Patra Netre Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraikapanaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gitamrita Duhe Namaha. Okay, I'm sorry, I have to change the slides. We are on the wrong slide now. Jump forward. So we are discussing this verse today. We already looked at this verse in the previous class. Nasato vidyate bhavo, first line, and na bhavo vidyate satah. So the second line is elaborated in verse number 17, and the first line is elaborated in verse number 18. The second line says, what is permanent that will continue to exist forever. And the first line says, what is temporary will stop existing at some point of time. There is no permanence to it. So what is permanent? Spirit soul is permanent. What is temporary? The body is temporary. Verse number 17 talks about spirit soul. So verses 17 and 18 talk about the soul body duality. We will look at the verse first, and then we will look at the explanation of each of those verses. Let's recite the verses that are supposed to be discussed today. I hope you all can see the screen. Verse number 17. Avinashi tu tad vidhi yena sarvam idam tatam vinasham avyayasyasya na kaschit kartum arhati. Next verse. Antavanta ime deha nityasyuktaha sharirinaha anashino aprameyasya tasmadyuthyasva bharata. Reading further. Ya enam itihantaram yaschainam mandehatam yamhanti nahanyate na jayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyah ajo nityah shashvato yam purano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. Vedavinashinam nityam ya enam ajamavyayam katham sa purushah partha kam ghatayati hantikam vasangsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grinati naroparani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani sanyati navani dehi. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, na chainam kledayanti yapo, na shoshayati marutaha. Achedyoyam adhayoyam, akledyo shoshya evacha, nityah sarvagatah sthanur, achaloyam sanatanaha. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam abhikaryoyam uchyate tasmadevam viditvainam nanushochitum arhasi. So we go to verse number 17, which we'll discuss at first. I have some internet connection issue today also because it's raining in Mumbai. So if the voice cracks, you let me know. I'll turn my video off and just keep the audio on and share the screen for all to see. Verse number 17. Avinashitu tad vidhi yena sarvam idam tatam. The translation is, that which pervades the entire body, you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. So this purport, which I'm not going to read because it's quite lengthy, explains in detail about the soul and the symptom of soul that makes us understand that there is something called soul. What is that? That's called consciousness. Avinashi tu tat vidhi. Understand that consciousness to be indestructible. Very beautifully it is explained in the purport by Srila Prabhupada about consciousness and other things. We'll just quickly read the first paragraph of this purport. This verse more clearly explains the real nature of the soul, which is spread all over the body. Anyone can understand what is spread all over the body? It is consciousness. Everyone is conscious of the pains and pleasures of the body, in part or as a whole. This spreading of consciousness is limited within one's own body. The pains and pleasures of one body are unknown to another. Therefore, each and every body is the embodiment of an individual soul, and the symptom of the soul's presence is perceived as individual consciousness. This soul is described as 1/10,000th part of the upper portion of the hair point in size. So for this whole purport, I have, summarized the facts into a table. What we can churn out of this purport. It's talking about soul. What it is? It's an atomic particle of the spirit whole. Example is given like that of sun and sunshine molecule. Sun is huge and it gives out infinite number of sun rays. And in those rays, we can see some tiny light particles. So likewise, the Supreme Lord, the Absolute Truth is infinite. And from that Supreme Lord comes out tiny sparks, spiritual sparks. And those are called spirit souls. Chit Kana, Atma. It's very tiny, atomic in size. Nature, it is imperishable, avinashi. It cannot be destroyed. Symptom, how do I perceive it that it exists? Through individual consciousness. Each one of us are conscious of ourselves and the things around us. That's what makes us understand there is something known as soul inside, because dead matter or just matter does not have this quality of being aware or conscious, but a living being has this quality. Is it supreme consciousness? No. Why? Because this spreading of consciousness is limited within one's own body. I cannot feel your pain. I cannot feel your pleasure. I cannot understand what's going on in your mind because my consciousness is limited to my body. It's limited to my mind. It's limited to my intelligence. Beyond that, I cannot perceive. Whereas when you talk about supreme consciousness or the consciousness of the Supreme Lord, that is all pervasive. So the living entity is not equal to the Supreme Lord because living entity's consciousness is very minute, small, tiny, limited. And for the Supreme Lord, it's all pervasive. You are all able to see the screen, yes? Size of the soul. What is the size? It's given in 𝗪𝗪 Upanishad. The reference is there. You take the tip of the hair and then you make 100 parts of it. And then you take one part of that, again divide into 100 parts. That's the size of the soul, which is very, very atomic in size. However, we also get references from other places where it says the soul is immeasurable and insignificant. Okay. How it can be perceived, then it is so small. Can you perceive it through a microscope? No. It can be perceived only through perfect intelligence. So there's an assignment for you. What is the definition of this perfect intelligence? What do you mean by perfect intelligence? The soul can be perceived by perfect intelligence. What is that perfect intelligence? And the final thing, where is the soul located in the body? It says it is located within the heart. Within the heart. Floating in 5 kinds of life airs. Prana, Apana, Vayana, Samana, and Udana. 5 kinds of airs are there. Actually, there are 10 kinds of airs inside our body. Out of that, 5 are life airs, and those are named here in the table. I'll be explaining all of this in detail in the next slide. So that's the essence of the entire purport, the long purport put into these 2 tables. Let's move to discuss about the size first. Size of soul. Hair size, if you Google what is hair size, it says it's 25.4 micrometer, which is equal to 25.4 into 10 raised to minus 6 meter. Those who are bad in mathematics, please don't panic. It's just 1 or 2 minutes of discussion. So hair size is 25.4 into 10 raised to minus 6 meter. And atom size, if you look at Google again, atom size is 100 picometer, which is equal to 1 into 10 raised to minus 12 meter. If you take the hair size and you take the tip of the hair size and you divide it by 1,000 times, it's definitely going to go smaller than even the size of an atom, right? Atom size is 10 raised to minus 12, and the soul size would be much smaller than the atom. We can measure the atomic size. And if you say soul size is smaller to that, we can even measure that. If that is so, why is it then said that soul is immeasurable? The point is, when I can say the size of the soul is such and such, I can measure it. And if I can measure it, why is the scripture saying the soul is immeasurable? You may say because in the past times, people did not have the devices called microscopes, so they could not measure. But now we have, so we can measure. But when we say scriptures, what they say is true for all times, whether the past or the present or future. So how do you solve this contradiction? One point, it gives you the size. At other point, it says it cannot be measured. How do you solve that dilemma? What exactly is the scripture trying to say? Yes, Seema.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I think because of material nature and spiritual nature difference, the soul is not material in nature. That is why we think it is not measurable.
But then it gives you a measurement also, right?
Yes, it does, but
and it gives you not a spiritual measurement, it gives you a material measurement, that you take a hair and then you divide it into 10,000 parts, the tip of the hair, so it gives you a material measurement.
So maybe we are talking in terms of energy. I'm a little confused. I don't think so I understand it.
Okay, fine. So you're just guessing. Fine. Rasheshwari Mataji.
Prabhuji, I think it is too small to be measured by any material means.
Okay, quite close. Thank you. It is too small to be measured. Thank you. What else? Vasanti Mata. Cannot hear you. There's something wrong with your microphone. Can't hear. Navnidhi Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Size of the soul is very small, and at the same time, Paramatma also resides in our heart, and Paramatma is very big. On a large, Paramatma is big, and we are very small entities. Just to help us understand that the size of soul is small, it is helping us to understand, and at the same time, it is refuting the Mayavadi concept that Atma and Paramatma are same, because we are as a soul very small and Paramatma is big.
Okay, good point. Nice point. But there's one more thing that is there. Srinivas Gopal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can you hear me?
Yes.
Prabhuji, thank you for giving me opportunity. Prabhuji, here the material dimensions are given to say that to tell the readers or the jivas that it is so minute that it is as a material, because we cannot understand the spirit, so it is said like that, because it's actually a spirit. So the mechanical means cannot measure it.
Okay. Thank you.
It's a spirit. It cannot be measured.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll take that many answers only. So basically here, we should know one thing. Because we are limited by material vision and material understanding. The scriptures, they try to give us some idea. Okay, if you want to know the size of the soul, then take it like this. And when they are saying like that, when they are saying like that, the scriptures are giving us a size. They are not trying to give us an exact size. Why? Because the soul, being spiritual, cannot have material dimensions. When you say a hair size, that's a material dimension. When you divide that hair size into 10,000 parts, that's again a material dimension. Spirit soul cannot have material dimension. But in order to give us an idea that it does have a size, it does have a dimension, and it is very, very small, then we are giving something so that we can relate to that, that hair is so small, and then tip of the hair would be so small, and then you divide it into 10,000 parts, that's going to be really, 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 really small. So we cannot see the soul with our blunt, naked eyes. That's the main point to be taken. Not that we have to literally take that the soul size is 1/10,000 part of the tip of the hair, because when you say hair size, in the shloka, it is not mentioned it is human's hair or bull's hair or elephant's hair, because the thickness of different hairs will be different, right? Isn't it? It's not saying human's hair, it says hair size. There might be an animal which may have a very, very thick hair, or there may be an animal which may have a very, very thin hair. So the idea is not to give a perfect size, but to tell us that it is very small. Very, very small. So small, you cannot see with your eyes. You cannot really materially, evaluate what the soul is. So that has to be understood. The lesson to be learned is, when we study the scriptures, it's not just that we have to take the literal meaning. We have to also take the meaning that they want to give to us, the applied meaning, not just the literal meaning of the statement. Coming to the next topic, it says the soul is located where? We just discussed in the previous table, in the heart, right? Now you go and search Google, you'll find that there are many living entities which do not have heart. So then they don't have the soul. Like jellyfish, starfish, corals, they don't have heart. So then they don't have the soul. And different living entities have different kinds of hearts. Some have 2-chamber hearts, some have 3-chamber hearts, some have 4-chamber heart, right? So how do we understand that again? That it said it is located in the heart. And then it is also said that it is located, I'm not sharing the screen because I'm not talking on the screen now. So it's located in the heart, it says so, but it also says it is encircled by 5 kinds of life airs. And so when we talk about heart, I have already explained this in Gita Diploma course. It refers to not the physical heart, the organ. It refers to the subtle heart. Subtle heart is that heart which gives you energy, life energy. Like the physical organ heart is one, but we know that physical organ heart also gets its supply of energy from something else there. If you ask the modern doctors, they would say there is a natural pacemaker inside, something known as SA node or sinus node, which makes the heart pump the blood, right? And that's how the blood is circulated throughout the body. So there is this subtle heart, and that heart exists in all the living entities. That's present in the trees also, that's present in jellyfish, coral fish, in all those things also, it's present. So where is it located exactly? Basically, we have to know little mathematics now to understand this. The location of soul is explained as to be, it's surrounded by and it is captured by, held into one place by 5 kinds of life airs. 5 kinds of life airs. What are those? The names were already given to you: Vayan, Saman, Apan, Udan, Prana. If you have studied vector mathematics somehow, or rather if you studied vector mathematics, those are from science background, they would know what is vector mathematics, right? You apply direction to a unit, that's called vector. I can give you an example to explain. If a car is moving in the north direction, okay, a car is moving in the north direction with a speed of 40 kilometers per hour. So there you have a speed and you also have a direction, isn't it? That it's moving north. A car moving north at 40 kilometers per hour is different from a car moving south at 40 kilometers per hour. It's not the same, right? It's not the same. Likewise, if a person is pulling an object in one direction with a certain amount of force, and another person is pulling the same object in the opposite direction by the equal amount of force, that object will not move, right? Because those two forces will cancel each other. So this is called vector mathematics or vector calculation, that you don't just take the unit, the amount, you also put direction to it. These 5 airs, they have 5 different directions. Okay, and they exert pressure or force on the soul in these 5 different directions. But the resultant action of that force is that they all cancel out each other's effect, and the soul is in a state of equilibrium. That is the place where the soul resides. Okay, makes sense? Making sense? Understanding? Yes? We can look at the diagram. S refers to the soul, and there are 5 colors of arrows. These are 5 kinds of life airs, and they are either pulling or pushing the soul. But because they are doing in different directions, they cancel out each other's effect. And the soul remains in a state of equilibrium in one place. That place is called the heart, the subtle heart. And what do the yogis do? The Ashtanga yogis, they are able to control these 5 kinds of life airs. And by controlling these 5 kinds of life airs, they are able to move the soul. They're able to change the location of the soul. This we'll discuss more in chapter 8 when we'll discuss about Shat Chakra Yoga or Kundalini Yoga. Okay, they move the soul by controlling what? The airs. And how do you control the airs? By the breathing process. That's how yoga, Ashtanga yoga, is related to meditation and liberation. You know, you do pranayam, you control your breathing. By controlling the breathing, you control these 5 kinds of life airs, and through that you control the soul. Not so easy. Very, very difficult. Not so easy. Yes, Srinivas Gopal Prabhu, you got something to say? Haripal.
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I'm just have a doubt. The air is a matter. Here we are calling settle, but how the air is in this air we are calling settle air, or it will call we are calling a material air?
No. This air is matter, but it is very subtle matter. No, it is not as gross as earth or water or fire. Air,
but how it is affecting the soul then?
It's not affecting the soul. It is just keeping the soul in one place.
But even the direction or force, or it is acting, no?
It is acting because it is subtle. It is not gross. So it is able to control the soul. After all, the whole system is designed by the Supreme Lord. So he can use any of his energies to control the other energy.
Because soul is, we are calling subtle soul in subtle this thing. I mean, we are not talking about gross body. We are talking about subtle body now.
Yeah, it is subtle. The prana, when you say life air, it's not gross. It is very subtle.
But prana, what we are taking, that is gross, no?
What you are taking is gross. It is gross matter, yes. But is it as gross as earth?
And it's not that gross. Because the air is more subtler.
So that's why it's able to control. Now, if you say, why is it able to control? Then that question is not valid, because that's how it has been designed. The person who created, he created in that way.
Okay.
Isn't it?
The soul can.
We have read it so many times that the energies of the Supreme Lord can be used by the Supreme Lord in any way he likes.
Yes, correct.
Air is his energy. Spirit soul is also his energy. So he can use in any way.
Okay, Prabhuji. Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Maheshji.
What are the qualities of this 5 vayus, prana, pan, and all that? I mean,
Quality means?
I mean, these 5 layers, 5 gases, or 5 vayus that you told, prana, pan, vyan, dan, saman. So how do they impact the soul actually?
You mean to say what are their actions? What is their function?
Yes, please. Yes.
We'll discuss that in another purport. It will come there in detail. What do the 5 kinds of airs do? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So now next thing, heart is seat of energy. This is very nicely explained by Srila Prabhupada in the purport. He explains the corpuscles, he's talking about the RBC, red blood corpuscles, which carry the oxygen from the lungs, gather energy from the soul. When the soul passes away from this position, the activity of the blood generating fusion ceases. Medical science accepts the importance of red corpuscles, but it cannot ascertain that the source of the energy is the soul. Medical science, however, does admit that the heart is the seat of all energies of the body. Purport 2.17. So the idea is, if you approach the subject matter through medical science point of view, we can ask any doctor, a person who is having some knowledge of, let's say, someone is knowledgeable in what do you call that? He knows about the heart. He has studied cardiac science. You can ask that person that from where does the heart get its energy to pump the blood? And then they may say, it comes from this, it comes from that, it is self-generating, it is automatic, this, that. They may say it's sinus node, SA node, pacemaker. But again, the point is, why even a properly functional heart at some point of time stops beating? It can be removed from that body and fit into another body, and it may start working again. So what makes it stop working? The point the scripture says that as soon as the soul leaves, then there is no supply of energy, and when there is no supply of energy, it stops working. Right? As soon as you stop that. Now, if the soul has left, then you cannot give an external energy source and make that person alive again. Not possible. That person will come back to life again if the soul comes back again. Otherwise not. It won't happen. Yes, Neha Mati.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
I have a question here, Prabhuji. How does the soul know when to leave the body?
How will the soul know when to leave the body?
Yes, Prabhuji. How
The
does
soul will not leave on its own. The soul will be actually removed out of the body.
how does that activity take place of removing out of the body? Who does?
There are people who are involved in that. Just like, if there is a person living in a house and that person has not paid the rent, or that person is supposed to vacate the house on a certain date. If that person is a gentleman, that person will say, okay, my date is over, I'm leaving. But if that person is not a gentleman and is attached to the house, then the owner of the house will send some police people, right, to take him out of the house. Likewise, in the creation of the Supreme Lord, Yamaraj is the person who is the Lord of Justice, and he has his policemen, constables called Yamadutas. So when the soul decides to not leave the body, the Yamadutas come. They tie up, different kinds of ropes around the soul, which can actually catch the soul and then pull the soul out of the body forcefully.
When does this happen, Prabhuji?
Why it happens?
No, when?
When the time of death has come, when your period in a particular body is over, the time span that we are supposed to live in the body is over. Every person who has taken birth with an expiry date. When that date comes, that moment comes, then one is supposed to leave the body, right? So that's called the moment of death. So those who have prepared themselves for death, they'll not be afraid of leaving. But those who have not prepared themselves for death, they'll be very, very afraid of leaving, because they will be very much attached to what they have acquired throughout the life, the house, the family members, the possessions, and then they don't want to go. They don't want to leave. So then in that situation, because now they don't have any more time to live in that body, they are forcefully taken out of the body. And that's a very painful experience. That's why many people, when they die, they don't die smiling. They are horrified at the moment of death. You know, why so? Because they are forcefully made to leave the body. Understand, Mataji? Yeah. Guru Maya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. But what about the people who have done the Mahasamadhi? That means consciously leaving the body, the soul, just like the
Yes, so they
Aswatthama's father.
They prepare themselves for that.
Okay.
They prepare themselves for that, and then they wait for the time. It is already a destined time. They know that this is the time I'm going to leave, and they prepare for that. And when that moment comes, they just disconnect themselves from the external world and they leave. It's all about how much you have developed yourself as the soul. Understanding? The more a person is spiritually developed, the more control one gets on one's own body, on one's own mind, on the soul itself. It's all about preparation. So if someone has not prepared, then one has no control over these things. But one who has prepared then has full control over these things.
Okay,
someone asked the question, what about heart transplantation? So when heart is transplanted, the physical heart changes, not the subtle heart. And the soul does not move to the new body or new heart. Means the soul remains the same, it's just the heart changes. It's just like changing the seat of the car, not the driver of the car. You know, when you are in a car, if your old seat in the car is somehow other not functional, then you change and make a new seat, but the driver doesn't necessarily change. Likewise, the physical organ heart is changed with a new heart, but the person remains the same. Vishal Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I wanted to clear my understanding. One is soul, then there is a consciousness, then subtle body, and then physical body. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Srinivas Gopal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I just was curious because the transplantation has come. There's a recent scientific development that a complete body is being transformed to a new body, like the head is it. Then when the body is transferred, who is having the head, he's controlling the memories and everything, not the remaining body. You know. What you say?
I do not understand what you're trying to say.
They are doing a complete transformation of body, Prabhuji. The head is somebody else, and the body is from below neck it is somebody else. But the person who is having the head, he's controlling the memories and past this everything. So in this case, how you can say that the soul is in the heart?
Okay. So you mean to say that they have put the head of another person and the body of another person? Like
yes, Prabhuji. This recent development, I think last 2 years they have done
they found that the person is behaving as per the new head.
Yes, correct.
Okay. I don't know now how much is it going to work for everyone, first of all. Second thing, we can discuss in detail about it. You see, when you say a person is working in a particular manner, we should know one thing, that when there is any kind of replacement of one body part with another person's body part, there is a transfer of consciousness. We should know that. So that transfer of consciousness will have some impact on the person for some days or some weeks or some months. But later on, then it will come back to that original person's state of mind. Like I'll give you an example. It's a true incident. One person, he was very fond of eating chocolates. Okay. And this person had a wife who never liked chocolates. So this person's wife, kidney got damaged and she had to borrow kidney. So she borrowed the kidney from her husband. After she got this surgery done, suddenly she realized she now likes to eat chocolate like anything. So she was not able to understand that there is something which I hated so much before, and now I like to eat it. However, that craving lasted only for a few weeks. After that, that craving died. So why it happened is because you brought in an object from someone else's body into your body. That object was surcharged by the consciousness of that person. And since you brought it in your system, it did affect your system for some period of time. And you could feel that. But after that, your consciousness started ruling over again the whole system. So in due course of time, it will so happen that whoever the person is and the soul is, that person's individual consciousness will be overruling the external effects that might have come into because of change of the head, change of the heart, change of the kidney, or change of the blood, whatever it may be. But there will be definitely some sharing of consciousness or vibrations that will be there. It won't remain forever. After all, it will be that the original person will start ruling over that. Okay, Rajat Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I read somewhere, I'm not sure now, that the soul can move in the whole body, but primarily it stays in the heart. Is it true?
The soul cannot just move anywhere and everywhere in the body. There are some specific positions where the soul can be situated. These are called chakras or holes.
Okay, Prabhu.
Yeah. So they are specific positions where the soul can be.
So it moves on its own, or?
No, it cannot just move on its own. It has to be moved.
So the Kundalini, like we do that chakra thing, that is movement of the soul?
That if someone does Kundalini properly, then they can move the soul, yes. It's not so easy. It's not so easy. Because for Kundalini, we'll study this in chapter 8. The prime requisite for someone practicing Kundalini is that that person should practice brahmacharya. Should be a celibate. Now, how many people in this world, they observe this particular, requirement? That's one of the basic requirements of someone trying to do Kundalini yoga. That should be a celibate. So people, they are just cheating others, telling them we are teaching you Kundalini yoga or this or that. It's not that easy. Okay. We have some more questions. Voice is cracking. Let me turn off my video there.
No, it was okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, it is okay, Prabhuji.
Okay. Some question is, did Srila Prabhupada also leave the body by his own? I cannot say. What is ghost? Well, let's not get into that topic, otherwise the whole class will be about that. David Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, please. Please, my question is, for instance, if you take an organ from somebody, you are a devotee, and if the person likes to eat meat, and for instance, because of that, you beginning to, before your consciousness come back, and you eat meat, does it affect your karma?
Yeah, of course. Because the scriptures, they don't allow you to take blood from others randomly. That is against the instruction of the scriptures. If you study the scriptures properly, organ transplantation is illegal. It's crime. It's wrong. It's not allowed.
Okay.
It's not. Why it is not allowed? Because why am I getting any suffering or any disease? It's because of my karma, right? Isn't it? So I have to suffer out that karma. Now, if I try to play around with nature's laws so that I can skip that suffering, I'm just breaking the law.
Oh, okay.
You are understanding, getting the point?
Yes, yes.
Right. So
in this case, sorry. So in this case, if you involve in accident or something, and in the hospital, they have to give you a transplant or something, you have to reject it.
well, it now depends on you and how you take your life. But generally, if it's possible, one should go without that, right? Only if it is question of life and death and you cannot survive without having done such thing, then you can take that as a risk that it's better to live than to die and practice Krishna consciousness. Now, again, I'll tell you something. It will depend on who you are. If you are not a devotee, it's better to die than to do some kind of organ transplantation and live and commit more sinful activities and go to hell, right? But if one is a devotee, then because that person is going to use that extra time to worship Krishna and go to a better place, completely finish his material business, become a pure person, that person can take that risk.
Okay.
It's not going to be the same. Like for example, if I put you in a situation, you have to decide, you have to judge. There is a person, if you help that person, this person is going to commit more crime. Will you help? No, right? But if you know someone that this person, he might have done something wrong, but if you give second chance to this person, even at some heavy cost, but this person is going to do something really good for himself and for the world, will you give that person a second chance? So that's how, for a devotee, even if it is sinful to go through that, go through that whole process of transplantation or things like that, because he's going to use that in future for a better cause, it's allowed. It is acceptable, right? But for someone who is not going to do that, very dangerous, very dangerous. So the rules apply differently for different people. That's the point. Okay. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. This we discussed heart and seat. The lesson that we want to take from this discussion, that we discuss about the size, we discuss about the location. When we study the scriptures, the key to complete learning is harmonizing the different truths. We have to take different statements of the scriptures, put them together, harmonize them, and then the understanding that develops from that is complete understanding. If I just take scriptures in tits and bits, choose certain things and then don't look at the other things, then my understanding will be incomplete. We have to take all the statements together, harmonize them. And that's what makes the complete understanding. So the scripture at one place, they say this is the size of the soul. At other place, they say it's immeasurable. How do I harmonize? Right? The scripture says that the soul is living in the heart. But in another place, it says it's surrounded by 5 kinds of airs. And there are certain living entities who do not have a heart. So how do I harmonize? So that's how we get a complete picture of the scriptures. Let's look at verse number 2.18 purport. Let's look at first the verse 2.18, then we look at the purport. 2.18 talks about the body. What is the nature of body now? Antavantai me deha nityasyukta sharirinaha anashino aprameyasya tasmad yudhyasva bharata. So for the body, it is said, the material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore, fight, O descendant of Bharata. Can you see the contrast? The soul is something which is indestructible, will never come to an end. But the body is sure to come to an end. Cannot stop it. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, therefore you should fight. Again, a long purport, I'm just taking a summary from that. So from both viewpoints, there is no cause of lamentation. If you think someone is spirit soul, why to lament? You cannot kill the soul. And if you think that person is not the soul, the body is going to die someday anyway. So why lament about it? So he says, because the living entity as he is cannot be killed, nor can the material body be saved for any length of time or permanently protected. Soul cannot be killed. New section, verses 19 to 25. Verse number 19. After having given a comparison, now Krishna talks about this specific topic. Soul cannot be killed. Ya enam veti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam ubhau tau na vichanito nayam hanti na hanyate. It means neither who thinks the living entity the slayer, nor he who thinks it slain is in knowledge. For the self slays not, nor is slain. So he's saying, Krishna, that the soul cannot be killed, the soul cannot be the killer, and no one can let one soul kill the other soul. Not possible. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport something very interesting about religious violence. He says, everything has its proper utility. Everything. And how to apply violence rests with the person in knowledge. Okay, my internet is pretty bad today. I'm sorry for that. You are able to see the screen? Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
So here's a sensitive point. Everything has its proper utility. Violence also has its utility. In general, the word violence brings up a negative image or connotation. Violence is wrong. We always think like that. One should be non-violent, right? People appreciate non-violence. But here Prabhupada is saying violence also has its utility. And how to apply violence rests with the person in knowledge. This may encourage religious violence, and people even may say that, look at Bhagavad-gita, it is promoting religious violence. Is Gita not doing that by telling Arjuna to fight and kill people? And then they would say, all the wars in the history of humanity have happened because of religions. All the wars. So religion is bad. Let us become irreligious, or let us just be a good man. Don't be religious, man. Be a good man. Don't call yourself to be religious. So here you have a task. I divide you into groups. We'll make several groups, and the odd number groups are going to discuss the first thing, and the even number groups are going to discuss the second thing. Violence also has its utility. First, inappropriate application. Second, appropriate application. Okay. So when I make breakout rooms, the odd number breakout rooms like room 1, room 3, room 5, room 7, room 9, they are going to discuss inappropriate application of this statement. And the other rooms, room 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, they are going to discuss appropriate application of this statement. If you have done the reading assignment and you have come with preparation, you'll be able to do this exercise much better. So from next time, if you have not done reading assignment, please do and come. Okay, I'm making the groups. Remember, for each group, first of all, assign a group leader so that once your discussion is over, then that person can speak on behalf of everyone else. Room 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 discuss about inappropriate. Room 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 discuss about appropriate application. I give you how much time? Is 6 to 8 minutes sufficient for this? Yeah. Okay. So we give you 7 minutes. Okay, please join.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Okay, welcome back. Hope you had a nice discussion. So we don't have so much time. I would request you to just give me 1 point from each group, like not so many points. 1 point from each group. We have 10 groups, so we can get 10 points. That's a lot. Starting from Guru Mayum Prabhu. Please tell the group number. Yeah.
Prabhuji, I represent group number 10. We have many points, but I would like to, since you stole only 1 point, we will say violence when if something against dharma, then it's appropriate to use the violence.
Okay, violence against adharma.
Yeah, adharma.
That's appropriate use of violence.
Yes.
Okay, so we can use violence in that situation. Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you, Prabhu. If there are more points which are not covered by people, we'll come back to you later. Subhashini Padma Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, due to differences in the opinions and beliefs, that also leads to improper this one, Prabhuji.
You're representing which group, Mataji?
7, Prabhuji.
So, inappropriate use of violence, right?
Yes, that leads to the inappropriate, that leads to war.
Give an example. Give an example.
Example means, Prabhuji, now in Udaipur, beheading of a Hindu because of talking of some religious topics, Prabhuji.
Okay. So inappropriate use of violence. All right. Thank you. Rajat Mishra, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I am representing room number 5. We have to talk about inappropriate. Any violence done for fun and killing of animals, like we have that bullfight and all that thing. That is inappropriate.
Going for hunting.
Yes, yes.
That is wrong. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Achitanand, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I represent room 1. So we were discussing about inappropriate violence. So any violence which is not which is not done as per the dharma, that is inappropriate. And like example, soldier, if he is fighting for the nation, then it is good. But if terrorism, if they are doing killing of animal, is also one of the examples that I want to highlight.
So you said terrorism or killing animal. But let's say you spoke about soldier fighting for the country. We'll come to that later. Paramita Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Am I audible?
Yeah, please tell.
Prabhuji, I'm from group 2 and I'm here for the violence where it is applicable and appropriate. So the violence is appropriate in case where it is against the adharma and we are trying to establish the peace. Like in case of the Mahabharata war and in case of Ashoka, Samrat Ashoka, what we have seen, that in order to establish dharma in the background of adharma, so the violence is necessary in that case.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Adharma. Next point, Basanti Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Ours is room number 4. Violence also has its utility. Appropriate application of the statement. First, what we all discussed is soul cannot be killed. soul cannot be killed, and doctors, those who are doing operation according to what is given in the purport, we have to save the patients, so the body is cut. That is never considered as violence.
Very good point. Thank you. Good example. Yes, Annapurna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, mine is group number 9. So it is inappropriate application of violence. Prabhuji, violence leads us to, we won't be able to escape from the birth and death cycle. So violence is not appropriate.
No, you have to give a scenario where the violence is inappropriately used. Situation where there is a misuse of this thing, violence, That's what inappropriate would mean. Anyone from your group wants to help?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. We also discussed scenarios such as occupation of land and war, as it's happening in Ukraine, or spreading the religion and causing violence to spread the religion is actually inappropriate violence.
Yeah, jihad, right?
Yes, yes.
The jihad. Okay, fine. Thank you. Yes, Mahesh Prabhu.
The violence without authority.
Group
For
number,
example,
group number, Prabhu, room number.
Yeah, group number 3, Guruji. Okay. Group number 3.
Yeah.
So inappropriate violence, there is a case of violence without authority. For example, a policeman catches a murderer and believing that he is going to get death punishment, he kills himself. It is not he actually who should do that. It is the judge who will pronounce the judgment, and then it will be killed as per the law. So that kind of violence is inappropriate for us.
That is also inappropriate. Means if you are not supposed to execute violence on someone and you just do that whimsically, that is also inappropriate, right? Thank you, Prabhu. Ashok Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, room number 8. For that is, violence can be used for appropriate in a positive way. Then the idea was, when to establish the rule of law in the civil society, there are protests for murders. If to them the capital punishment is given, that is, violence can be used for establishment of dharma. In one of the purpose, Prabhupada has also supported here that where the capital punishment given, it is better to give the punishment in this life only, because otherwise he will have to take the next life and suffer. And in this way. And the example is Krishna also killed all the demons. According to me, it was a violence, but it was for the establishment of the dharma.
Very good point. Thank you. So you brought up a good point. People nowadays have this debate whether life imprisonment or capital punishment, right? Where don't hang the person to death, just keep that person in the jail for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. But then we come to know from Manu Samhita that if the crime is very severe, then that person should be killed immediately. And there is a reason behind that. It's not being cruel. It's just to help that person better. How? If you read the purports in some place, Prabhupada explains that sometimes people are so bad that they have to be given a really, really, big punishment to change, otherwise they don't change ever. So that is not being cruel. That's not being insane. It's just that the right amount of punishment should be exercised. Okay, Ajay Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, group number 6, room number 6. We discussed about most of the things that were discussed previously, like standing for dharma, standing up against anyone who is, trying to destroy our scriptures, trying to speak against our religion, or ill about our Bhagwan. So that is one thing. We also discussed about standing up, and even if we have to use violence for 6 types of aggressors, that was mentioned.
Correct.
And standing up against adharma.
Thank you. Okay, nice point. 6 aggressors can be killed. Kwanshyamati. Unmute yourself, please. Unmute. Yes.
Group number 7. This is maybe before some Babu already talking about. I'm talking regarding the killing the body of anyone without authority is abominable and is should be punished by the law of the country or the law of the law. But some things, example like the serial killer killing someone, and then this type also inappropriate.
Very good, thank you. So we did understand from this discussion that violence is good and bad both. We cannot say just that violence is wrong, and that's why scriptures like Gita are to be, rejected, because they're promoting violence, which is not healthy. Violence is good, chastisement is good, punishment is good. It depends on whom it's exercised and who is exercising, right? It has to be utilized properly. Now, there was a point that if a soldier is fighting for the nation, it's allowed. Now, it depends. You are fighting for which nation? Are you fighting for the demoniac nation, or you're fighting for the religious nation? If you're fighting for the demoniac nation, and just because you are a soldier in the army and you say what to do, I have to fight because my boss asked me to fight, then that's not really appropriate. Because if you're supporting the wrong cause, then that will be considered wrong only. I may not be wrong, but if I'm working for the wrong person, I will also be considered part of the game. Right? So in case, let's say we are having this war going on between Russia and Ukraine. So if Russia is the first one to attack Ukraine and Ukraine defends, the soldier fighting on behalf of Ukraine will be considered doing the right thing, because that person is giving protection to his own country's citizens. That's the duty of a Kshatriya. You protect the citizens from harm, from attack. But the Russian army invading Ukraine, that would be considered demoniac. And if those who are fighting on behalf of Russia, if they support that cause, we are not going to discuss whether they are right or wrong. I'm just giving you a situation. If, let's say, they are wrong and they support that cause, they cannot say, it's my job, I'm fighting for the country, so this should be considered irreligious. That will be considered irreligious again. Why? Because you're supporting the wrong cause, isn't it? Now, when Mahabharata war happened, Kauravas on one side, Pandavas on the other side. They made this announcement. If you want to change groups now, you can. They made this announcement. If someone from Kauravas side wants to come and join Pandavas, we are open. And if someone from Pandavas side wants to go to Kauravas side, we are open. Which means they gave the choice. You want to stand for dharma or you want to stand for adharma. That choice was given, and accordingly, then it would be decided what you want to do and what will be the resultant, what will be the result of that. Okay, let's go to, no, let's not go to the next slide. Give you a break for 2-3 minutes. After that, we'll join. Hare Krishna. Let's take the break. Then we continue our discussion.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Okay, welcome back. We can start now studying again verse number 20. I hope devotees are back. Let me see. Yes, they are. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन्नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. For the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. This is a verse which you have to memorize. I'm not reading to the purport because it's quite self-explanatory. You can chant it, you can read it on yourself, by yourself. However, we'll just take this paragraph. There are two kinds of souls, namely the minute particle soul called Anu Atma and the super soul called Vibhu Atma. Anu means small and Vibhu means great. This is also confirmed in the Katha Upanishad in this way. Anor aniyan mahato mahiyan atmasya chantor nihito guhayam tam akrutah pashyati vita shoko dhatu prasadan mahimanam atmanah. Both the super soul and the atomic soul are situated on the same tree of the body, within the same heart of the living being. And only one who has become free from all material desires, as well as lamentations, can, by the grace of the Supreme, understand the glories of the soul. Krishna is the fountainhead of the super soul also, as it will be disclosed in the following chapters. And Arjuna is the atomic soul, forgetful of his real nature. Therefore, he requires to be enlightened by Krishna or by his bona fide representative, the spiritual master. Text 21. Veda vinashinam nityam ya enam majamavyayam katham sapurushaha partha kam gatayati hantikam. So here Krishna is very, interestingly taking off the blame from upon himself. Also, someone may say, you see, as I told you before, Arjuna is such a nice person and Krishna is making him kill. So Krishna is telling here, the soul cannot kill, the soul cannot be killed. And Arjuna, I cannot influence you to kill someone. I cannot do that also. So he is saying here that, O Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill, right? This purport we have discussed in some way in the discussion which we had. Now let's go to the next verse. Vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grinnati naroparani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones, right? But sometimes people die at a very early age. That time the body is not old. So how does this work then? It says when the cloth becomes old, then you throw that cloth and then you buy a new cloth. But we see people who die at a very young age when the body is not yet old. But this verse says when it gets old, you change. So how do you understand that? Achyutanand Prabhu?
They are destined to live up to that particular lifespan only. That is
That means after that time span is over, then there is no utility of that body. That's why here it says when the cloth becomes useless, it's not always that the cloth becomes old, then only you throw that, till the time the cloth cannot be used as a mopping cloth, you wear it and then suddenly you start, you throw that cloth. No, sometimes the cloth becomes useless and then you throw it away. Similarly, when the body is not now suitable to fulfill my desires, then I change the body. I can fulfill certain kind of desires using the body. When I don't deserve to fulfill any more those desires, I have to change the body. So here, this analogy is given, very nice analogy, and the purport is long. I request you to read it later. However, I'll share certain things from this. I'm giving you an exercise basically, which you have to do. Quickly, you have to reply. If you have read the purport before, you can easily. So this picture gives you the analogy, old garments, new garments. You have to find out this 4 things from the purport. I give you 2 to 3 minutes. Quickly do that. You might have done it already. If you read the purport, you can easily give the answer. Find about transmigration. Transmigration means moving from one body to another. 4 things. What it is, it's based on what, it's made possible by whom, and why it happens. Okay? Got the point, right? Sonali Nandana. Yes, Paramita. Just give me for fun now what it is.
It is the change of the soul from one body to another.
Okay, it's moving of soul from one body to another. That's called transmigration, right? Changing of body. Yeah, good. Sonali, Mataji.
Made possible by the grace of the super soul, the Lord.
It's made possible by
The mercy of the grace of the super soul.
Very good. It's made possible by the grace of the super soul. Now, what does that mean? Grace of the super soul means it's the super soul's kindness that the super soul assists the soul to go from one body to another. Right? The super soul does not leave that person behind. The super soul also goes along with that soul. And the super soul is assisting the soul in all these different journeys. Okay, you have this kind of desire, you get this body. Now you have different desire, you get this body. Now you have different desire, you get this body. So it's mercy of the super soul, allowing the living entity to to experience all kinds of desires, whatever it has. Finally, to come to that point that the living entity will decide, now I don't want to have any more material desires. That's the mercy of the Super Soul. Yes, Ashok Prabhuji. Unmute, please. Yeah.
There is question number 4. Why it happens? It happens because when we misuse our minute freedom which has been given, and by illusion we have more and more material desires. So when our body does not support the material desires which are left unfulfilled, we have to change the body because to fulfill our unfulfilled desires.
So the answer, it happens because of what you said is correct, but exactly what is written is that forgetfulness of master-servant relationship, the relationship between the soul and the super soul, because of forgetfulness. And the second one, what's about the second one? Answer for second one, based on what? Transmigration happens based on what? Rajat Mishra.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, it is based on our present karmas, or if balance of past karmas are there.
What else? There's one more thing, karma and plus one more thing. Who will say that? Bindu Mataji.
Prabhuji, it is based on Jiva's soul, Prabhuji, the life. Based on that?
No. Karma, it's based on karma and one more thing. Pankaj Maya Prabhu.
Desire, Prabhuji.
Desires, yeah, two things. Desires and actions, right? My actions and my desires. You know, one may desire to become a king, but then one should also have supporting karma, right? And then after all, it's all about my desire. What do I want to get? Thank you so much for participating in that. Wonderfully done. Let's move to the next slide, which will show you a very beautiful analogy explained in the purport. It's about two birds sitting on the same tree, taken from Mundaka Upanishad. They are friendly birds. One bird is the Paramatma and the other bird is the Anu Atma, the spirit soul. So bird one is Paramatma, bird two is living entity. What are they doing? They are friendly in nature, which means bird one is always trying to help bird two. And they are living in the same tree. What does the tree refer to? It refers to the body. Correct? There's a fruit in the tree, and that fruit is being eaten by bird two. Bird two refers to Atma, soul, eating the fruit. The fruit can be of two types. It can be sweet or it can be sour. What is the fruit analogy? And while the bird is eating, the bird one is watching, witnessing, right? Who is bird one? Super soul, master, watching. Bird two, atomic soul, servant, captivated by the fruit, struggling to find good fruits, right? Because always when it bites into the fruit, it's not always sweet. So it is struggling to find good fruits, sweet fruits. Anxious. Why anxious? Will the next fruit that I bite in will be sweet or sour? So there is anxiety. And morose. Why morose? Because many times you get a bad fruit to eat, right? Tree is the body. Fruit means karma. Sour means bad karma. Sweet means good karma. Such a beautiful analogy which explains the situation of every human being or every living entity. We have an area of work, that's the tree. We are trying to produce different kinds of fruits based on our karma. And then we want to enjoy those fruits. Sometimes the fruits that we enjoy are sweet, so we're very happy. Sometimes the fruits that we enjoy are bitter or sour, and then we become sad. And there's always anxiety. How will be the next fruit, sweet or sour? Right? And there's moroseness if the fruit is sour only. You know, people get into depression. Why? You know, because day after day, moment after moment, all the fruits they eat are sour. And they get depressed. Not even one sweet fruit, not even one good thing happening in my life. So they get into depression. Or if people are just getting sweet fruits to eat, then they get intoxicated by success. Oh, my life is so nice. Every day I'm having party. But this becomes the cause of what? One day the soul will say, oh, I'm done with this tree I'm done with mango fruits. Now I want to eat orange fruits. So let me fly from mango tree to orange tree. And then one day done with orange fruits. Then I want to enjoy now papaya. So let me move from orange tree to papaya tree. That's transmigration. Going from one type of body to another type of body. I am in a man body. I don't like this anymore. Maybe I want to try a woman's body. So next life I want to become a woman. Or I'm in a woman's body and I was tortured like hell by men. So I don't want to be a woman again. I want to be a man in next life. Or I want to be this, or I want to be that. And in this way, people are just going from one body to another. New desires, new body. New desires, new body. It keeps on happening. And what happens when the bird too flies? The bird one also goes along. The bird one, Paramatma, also goes along as a friend to help. So that analogy is explained there. Now, I'll not go into that section. Let's first complete the remaining verses of this section. 2.22 we discussed. Next is 2.23. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, na chainam kledayanti apo, na shoshayati marutah. Arjuna may say, come on, Krishna, why the soul cannot be killed? I mean, I have such powerful weapons, and why do you say that the soul will not get destroyed? The soul is connected to the body. If the body is destroyed, the soul should also get destroyed. Right? If you bomb a car, then you also bomb the driver of the car, isn't it? So Arjuna is saying, if I smash the body into pieces, then the soul should also be affected. If I burn the body, the soul should also get burned. But then Krishna says in this verse, the soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. The soul does not have those qualities. It cannot be. Again, a very interesting purport by Prabhupada about the different kinds of weapons, fire weapons, water weapons, tornado weapons. And he says that in the modern times, we have advanced so much that we only have fire weapons. But previously, people had different kinds of weapons. And they used that in the warfare. Next verse. Achedyoyam adahyoyam akledyo shoshe evacha. Nityah sarvagatah sthanur achaloyam sanatanaha. This individual soul is unbreakable, so you cannot break it. It is insoluble, so you cannot wet it. It can be neither burned, so you cannot use fire on it, nor dried. He is everlasting, present, everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. It is unchangeable, it is immovable, and it's eternally the same. It's present everywhere. Present everywhere means it's present in land, water, air, sky, fire, everywhere. Everywhere. Life is everywhere. We cannot say there is life only on earth. That's wrong. Life is everywhere. In different forms, it might be present, but it's present everywhere. There's life in sun, there's life in moon, there's life in Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, everywhere. There's life in the sky, in the ether. So this is to be understood. And it is said it's immovable. So someone asked the question, why it is called immovable? Achalaha. Immovable means that it cannot be moved from its sarupa. It will not have a transformation from its original constitutional position, right? Our body has transformation, it changes, so it can be moved from one state to another state. Like you take matter, water can be moved from the state of ice to water to vapor. It's just one element which can be moved from one state to another state. Vikar, in Sanskrit it's called vikar. There is a vikar, there is a transformation. There are 6 transformations that happens in the body, right? Shad vikar. But in the soul, these vikars, they don't take place. Such vikars are not there. So it's called immovable. Second thing, it's also called immovable because it doesn't really move in the physical dimension. It has a different dimension. There's a different dimension of mind. There's a different dimension of the body, there's a different dimension of the intelligence, and there's a different dimension of the spirit soul. To give you an example, if you walk into a room which is 20 feet long, you walk in from one door of the room, and on the other end of the room, there's another door, and you walk out of that door. Physically, you have moved 20 feet. Physically, the body has moved 20 feet, right? You walked in from one door and you exit out of the other door. But during that transition, if you did not think of another subject, you have been thinking on the same subject, the mental displacement was zero. The displacement of the mind was zero. Physically, the body moved 20 feet, but the mind did not move, right? And another example is you might be sitting in your room, you did not move physically, but your mind may fly to America. So at that time, the physical movement is zero, but the mental displacement is thousands of miles. So the physical space is different from mental space is different from intellectual space is different from spiritual space. When it says here, soul is immovable, what it means to say is that it doesn't move in the physical space always when the body moves. It doesn't move, right? Okay. Nayana Jyoti Mataji. You have a question? Unmute yourself.
My question, Hare Krishna Prabhu, my question is, they say that the soul cannot be burned, isn't it? Then how does the soul suffer in the hell, Prabhu, when they don't have the gross body there in the hell?
Because they get another body to suffer in the hell.
They get the body because their children do the food pinda offering.
No, that's a different thing. When the soul is sent to the hell, the soul is given a body to suffer, a separate body.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Called Yatana Sharir. Yatana Sharir means it's a body given to the soul to experience suffering.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So when they beat that body, because the soul identifies with that body, the soul then goes through that experience. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah. Rohit Prabhu?
Prabhuji, the soul is in the body. So when we move, the soul also moves.
No, not necessarily. As I said, when you move, not necessarily the mind moves.
Okay.
Because the movement is happening at different planes, it's not the same space. It's not the same space. So that we think, no, it's the same space. It's not. Mental space is different, intellectual space is different, spiritual space is different. When the body is moving, it's not necessary that the soul also has to move. However, they are interconnected. It's not that they are not connected, they become disconnected, they're interconnected. I'll give you an example to explain. It's a beautiful example, something very close to what we're discussing, and understanding becomes easier by that example. Let's say you are watching a ballet dance, okay? And there are people who are moving around on the floor, and there is a spotlight hanging from the ceiling, which just goes wherever these people are dancing. It follows the people who are moving on the floor. Now, if you look at that light, look at that beam, the beam moves, but not every part of the beam moves the same distance. The spotlight, which is following the people, would be moving so much, but the lamp, which is hanging from the ceiling, would be just there itself. It won't be moving, right? The lamp won't move. The lamp would be stuck there at one point. It may just turn around or rotate, but it will not move so much. But the beam is going to move a lot. They are interconnected at the same time. When the lamp moves, the beam moves. If the beam is moving, the lamp is also moving. But the amount of displacement is not the same, right? Likewise, the soul, the body, the mind are interconnected, but the space in which they move is not the same. Okay. Okay. Bindu Mataji.
Prabhuji, suppose if a body committed suicide, then what is the situation of the soul?
We'll discuss that later again, because it's a new topic which will take the whole class. So if the person commits suicide, what happens to the soul? some other day. All right. Yes, Mahesh. Unmute yourself, please, Prabhu.
Yeah. Guruji, sometime back you told that yogis do move their Atma within the body itself. And now you are saying that Atma is immovable. How come? That is a contradiction.
I did not say it's immovable everywhere. I said it's immovable in a particular space. Right? Atma can move, but then it will move in its space. And that space may not be the same as the physical space. Getting the point?
But that means it is movable, no?
So it's movable, but then again, when you take a shloka, I told you before, you just don't take that shloka and then you conclude on the basis of that shloka. That is one information, there is another information, you harmonize that together and then you take the correct understanding. Getting a point, right? So here it is said immovable, but we have different shlokas which also says that you go upward, you go downward, you stay where you are. So now how do you harmonize? One place it says it can move, another place says it cannot move. Both have to be true. So then you have to harmonize. Okay, in this situation it moves, in this situation it doesn't move. Right? So it doesn't move in the physical space. It has its own space of movement. Getting the point? Okay, very good. Fine. So now we discussed this, verse number 24. Let's go to verse number 25. Verse number 25 is Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam uchyate tasmad evam viditvainam nanushochitumarhasi. It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. Now,
Prabhuji, it is shloka number 25. We were supposed to go to 24, no?
We did 24. Now we are doing 24.
Okay, fine.
So now here it is said, the soul is invisible. That's very easy to understand. You cannot see the soul with these eyes, right? And then it is inconceivable. Now, if it is inconceivable, why is Lord Krishna teaching Arjuna? Inconceivable means you cannot understand. If you cannot understand, then why talk about it? Right? Krishna is telling Arjuna about soul, and then he says soul cannot be understood. So why are you talking then? It's inconceivable. Inconceivable means you cannot understand. Soul is soul. So then how do you say? What is the answer to that? It cannot be understood. If it cannot be understood, why the scriptures are giving us knowledge of soul? So the point is, it is inconceivable by material intelligence. It can be understood by perfect intelligence. We discussed that, saw that before, right? It can be understood by spiritual intelligence, but it cannot be understood by material intelligence. It's inconceivable by material intelligence, which means what? One can be very, very intellectual materially, but that person may not understand Atma. One may be very, very intellectual materially, but may not understand Atma. And one may be stupid materially, but may be an illiterate person, never went to a school also, but that person may understand Atma or may accept Atma. Possible. So it cannot be understood by material intelligence, and that's very evident. We see so scholarly scientists, people who are in research, and they have hard time just accepting this simple fact that there is something called Atma, which in India, even a farmer would know, a rickshaw driver would know, a street sweeper would know and would accept. But then a very educated person may not understand. So it's inconceivable by material intelligence, and it is immutable. Therefore, you should not grieve. So here, Krishna is giving Arjuna basically two arguments. One, the soul cannot be killed. Why are you lamenting? Second, the body cannot be protected forever. So why are you not fighting? He's giving that argument. However, if Arjuna now says that I don't believe in all this, what you are saying, I'll take your question later, Simanataji. I am a non-believer. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in Vedas. I don't believe in Atma. I don't believe in all this stuff. And that's why I don't want to fight. So Krishna even goes to the extent that he will speak some atheistic philosophies. And then he will say, if you are an atheist, Arjuna, still I'll give you logical arguments why you should fight and why you should kill. Even if you are an atheist, you don't believe in Atma, I'll tell you how fighting is good for you. So Krishna even goes to that extent, and he does that in verses 26, 27, 28, and 29. He speaks of wrong philosophy. And then he says, if you are a believer of wrong philosophy, still you should be killing, you should be fighting. So we will see that now, some wrong theories. Okay. Verse number 26 and 7. Let's take first the verse Sanskrit, then I'll come to this. Okay, verse number 26. Atha, the word atha means here, however, if you don't believe in Vedic philosophy or true philosophy, the right one, atha, if you believe in the wrong things, still I have good arguments for you. Atha chainam nityajatam nityam va manyase mitam tathapi tvam mahabaho nainam shochitum arhasi. If, however, you think that the soul or the symptoms of life will always be born and die forever, you still have no reason to lament, Almighty armed, right? The purport is quite technical, and I'm trying to simplify the purport for you in this graph, which you can later see and read the purport together. So here Srila Prabhupada in this purport uses two words, Lokayatikas and Vaibhashikas. Okay, Lokayatikas and Vaibhashikas. Who they are? Lokayatikas are followers of a philosophy called Lokayata. And the leader of that group is Charvak Muni. Basically, that philosophy is atheistic in nature. They don't really believe in God. And their whole understanding is life is meant to enjoy, be happy, eat, drink, and be merry. That's what they say. Charvak Muni is the one who said, you beg, borrow, steal, but eat food with ghee. Be happy. That's what his philosophy is. Be happy. And if you say, oh, beg, borrow, and steal, won't I go to hell if I commit something wrong? He said, who knows who is going to live after the body is burned? Who has seen that future? We don't know. After the body dies, everything is over. So you just enjoy, be happy. That's Charvak, atheist. What is their understanding? The body is made up of 4 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and air. 5th element missing. What is that? Sky, missing, ether. The body is made up of 4 elements, and the soul is the body and the body is the soul. That is what they say. Okay. So when the body dies, soul also dies. When the body is born, the soul is also born. So if you ask them, what about consciousness? Where did consciousness come from? So they will give the example. Just like betel nut is not red in color, but when you chew betel nut, you see red color. So they likewise, the matter has no consciousness. But when these 4 things come together, then consciousness is produced. It's a foolish argument which they give, but this is what they say. The Lokayatikas, the followers of Charvak Muni. This is their explanation. And then the next group is Vaibhashikas. Again, about them also we read here, Srila Prabhupada talks about them. Vaibhashikas, they are followers of Buddhists, Lord Buddha. They follow Buddhism, and their philosophy is covered atheism. What do they talk about body and soul? They do accept that the soul is different from the body, but they think when the body is destroyed, the soul will also get destroyed. Which means no more future existence. That's called nirvana. You stop existing. You stop existing. You stop living. So in that case, this is also a wrong understanding. It's not the perfect understanding. In both the cases, what is the message that Lord Krishna is trying to give to Arjuna? Whether you're a believer of Charvak or you're a believer of Buddhism, there's no problem in fighting and killing. You see, if after all, there is no future birth, there is no soul, there is no sin, then why are you worried about getting the sin, of killing your own family members? Why have to be moral then? If there is no future reality, why to be moral anyway? Just kill people, be happy. You're not going to suffer in future. So don't lament, because anyway that these people are going to die. All are supposed to die. You will also die someday. So you just fight. If the soul does not exist, or the body is just a combination of chemicals, then why should you cry if some chemicals are getting destroyed? Why should you cry? So many chemicals. Srila Prabhupada used to say that, they are spoiling so many chemicals in the chemical laboratory. By mixing chemicals, they produce a new chemical. We don't see the scientists cry when they lose one amount of chemical and they produce another chemical. They don't cry that sulfur has reduced, carbon has increased, let us shed tears on that. No, they don't cry. So he's telling Arjuna, why are you crying? It's all about chemical reaction. Why do you have to feel that? Just kill them, finish them. There won't be any shortage of chemicals because of that. So this is one argument which he gives. Okay, going to the next verse. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmada pariharyete na tvam sochitum arhasi. One who has taken his birth is sure to die. One who has taken his birth was sure to die. And after death, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. Krishna is telling people, once who have taken birth, they will die. And those who have died will take birth again. So why you lament? This philosophy is based on another kind of philosophy. I'm not going to detail because, that is a very, very advanced subject. I'm just giving you a hint that Bhagavad-gita is such a rich book. It talks about myriad types of subjects. It really touches on very, very, deep philosophical aspects. So this philosophy is Nyaya, and the followers of this philosophy are called Nyayikas. Their leader is Gautam, and their philosophy is logic or Karmavad. What is Karmavad? They say, if you do good, God must give you good result. And if you do bad, God will give you bad results. So they say, what power God has? He has no power. If you do good, you will get good. If you do bad, you will get bad. So don't worry so much about worshipping God. Just be a good man, do good work, and you'll get good result. So their idea is be honest, be hardworking, use this formula of karma siddhant that you do good, you get good, you do bad, you get bad. Forget God. Don't worship God. Because he's not doing anything extra. He's just doing his job of paying you off for what you have done. So they say the body is accepted at birth and given up at death. The soul is eternal. They accept that. But again, it's considered atheistic philosophy. Why? Because they don't believe in worshipping God. They believe in the law of karma. And the point is that they do a big mistake. What is that mistake? They even put God below the law of karma. They will say, Krishna, because he did this wrong thing, that's why he had to suffer. Oh, Lord Ramachandra, because he did this wrong thing, then he had to go to this particular destination. So then they apply the law of karma to the Supreme Lord also. They will apply the law of karma to Supreme Lord also. Like they will say, because Krishna was cursed by Gandhari, that you were the reason behind killing of every single son of mine, just as you destroyed my dynasty, my family, your family will also get destroyed. So because Gandhari cursed Krishna, that's why Krishna's family got destroyed. So they'll apply the law of karma on Krishna. But that cannot happen. God is beyond all those laws. It doesn't apply to him. So they will say, no, because he did wrong, he was also punished. That's karmavad. Is it understandable or going over the head? Make sense?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay.
Yes.
So they say it's a law. You are born, you will die. You die, you take birth again. So Krishna says, okay, you believe in that, Arjuna? You are a follower of Gautama. Still, Why you should lament? You should do your duty, because the body is going to anyway, if you don't kill, the body will get destroyed by itself. So you do your duty of fighting. You should not step back from your duty. So Arjuna is thinking that if I don't kill them, my friends and family members will not die. That's what he is saying. Krishna is telling, if you don't kill them, someone else will kill them. If someone else will not kill them, they will die anyway someday. So why do you not do your duty of Kshatriya to kill them? And the last one, which is referring to the next verse, Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyakta nidananyeva tatra ka paridevana. All created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation? Give you an example to explain. Just like you take a dream. There was a time when the dream was not there. Then there is a time when the dream is there. And then there is a time when dream will not be there. Correct? Unmanifest, manifest, unmanifest. So whatever happens in the dream, do you take it very seriously? You don't take it very seriously. So Krishna is telling, life is like a dream. Some people say so. Life is like a dream. It's an illusion. Okay. So if it's a dream, why should you worry about killing someone in the dream? I mean, you just kill. It's a dream. It doesn't matter whether you kill someone in the dream or you love someone in the dream. It's after all a dream. So you do your duty. Finish. So it's giving that logic. It's all illusion. It's all Maya. It's all dream. So you just kill people. What's wrong with that? It's a dream. And after you have, let's say this dream is over, there's no existence to it. So there's no point of sin or pious activity. So it's giving that logic that it's all void. This is another philosophy called voidism. And this leads to this kind of attitude that I can do anything wrong because after all, it's all illusion. There is another theory of voidism which teaches that before this manifested life, there was void. And after this manifestation, there will again be void. Krishna puts argument that before this manifested form of life, there was void. And after this manifested life, there will be void according to the voidism philosophy. So then where is the cause of lamentation? Whatever you do in between in the life, why you have to bother so much whether it will give you a good result or bad result? It's all a dream. So it's all useless. It's all useless. No point, right? So he has given now 4 wrong philosophies and telling Arjuna, if you are a believer of these philosophies, still I am giving you logical argument why you should still fight and not give up the battle, your duty. Why is Krishna doing that? Is he advocating these philosophies? No, he's not advocating his philosophies. He's just driving his point home, trying to convince Arjuna from different angles what he should be doing at that point of time, right? And is also discussing with us, giving us an opportunity to look at these different philosophy. After this, then the Lord says, the soul is mysterious. 2 more verses to go. I'm sorry, it's a little over time today. Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidinam ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanyaha ascharyavat chainamanyah shunoti shrutvapayenam vedana chaiva kaschid. Then Lord says, some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. So he has given a big talk, and after giving the talk, he's saying, Arjuna, you may not understand. So, because soul is so mysterious, it's so amazing that people, even after they hear it, they don't understand. That's the nature of soul. So who can understand and who cannot understand? Something important for us to note so that we can actually better appreciate the next section. Who cannot understand soul? Srila Prabhupada writes, men with a poor fund of knowledge and men who are not austere. It's important for us to note these things. Men with a poor fund of knowledge and men who are not austere cannot understand the wonders of the individual atomic spark of spirit, even though it is explained by the greatest authority of knowledge, who imparted lessons even to Brahma, the first living being in the universe. So here it's being said so clearly that the teacher is very qualified. It's Krishna teaching Arjuna, who can be a better teacher than Krishna. But if the student is not qualified to understand this subject because of lacking these two things, then that student will not understand. So who can understand spirit soul? Srila Baladeva Vidyabhushana Prabhu gives us some extra help so that we can cultivate these things. Who can understand soul? That person who has received the mercy of one's guru, one's teacher, who understands soul, and that person who has a pure heart can understand soul. And how do you cultivate that? Then Srila Baladeva Vidyabhushana Prabhu has given 4 things. Become dutiful, become truthful, become austere, and do activities such as japa or chanting of mantras. By these 4 things, you become a person with a pure heart, and then you get the mercy of Guru. So then you begin to understand soul or Atma, Atma Tattva. Otherwise, Atma will always remain a mysterious subject matter, difficult to comprehend. It will always remain a very difficult subject to understand, really, in reality. So dutiful, truthful, austere, and chanting japa. Then you understand. So speaking like this, then Krishna concludes this section, giving Arjuna an instruction in verse 2.30. He says, Dehi nityam avadhyoyam dehi sarvasya bharata tasmat sarvani bhutani natvam shochitum arhasi. O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, you do not grieve for any living being. The Lord now concludes the chapter of instruction on the immutable spirit soul in describing the immortal soul in various ways. Lord Krishna establishes that the soul is immortal and the body is temporary. Therefore, Arjuna as a Kshatriya should not abandon his duty out of fear that his grandfather and teacher Bhishma and Drona will die in the battle. On the authority of Sri Krishna, one has to believe that there is a soul different from the material body. Not that there is no such thing as soul, or that living symptoms develop at a certain stage of material maturity resulting from the interaction of chemicals. Though the soul is immortal, violence is not encouraged, but at the time of war, it is not discouraged. When there is actual need for it, that need must be justified in terms of the sanction of the Lord and not capriciously. So when the violence can be used, it has to be justified on the basis of scriptures, on the basis of the instruction given by the Supreme Lord, and so forth. That was first section of chapter 2 of Krishna's argument to Arjuna why he should fight. You have compassion, that's for the body. You are not the body, they are not the body. They are spirit soul. You cannot kill the soul. You cannot protect the body forever. So fight, Arjuna. Do your duty of fighting. Isn't Krishna a genius, right? In these small set of verses, he's giving a world of knowledge to Arjuna, right? A world of knowledge to Arjuna in just these few verses, and trying to convince Arjuna he should fight. And try to imagine what would be the intellectual caliber of these people. They are not having discussions and trying to understand every single word. It's just normal talk going on, and Krishna is speaking, and Arjuna is listening and is understanding that Krishna means this, Krishna means that. So brilliant people, brilliant, and the dialogue is so brilliant. Bhagavad-gita. So now, if Arjuna says, "I don't understand Atma," you told me, but I don't understand Atma. So Krishna in the next section will give a lower level of knowledge to Arjuna. If you don't understand Atma, I'll give you something which will prepare you to understand Atma. Okay, so that will come tomorrow. Yes, question time. And those who want to leave, they can leave. It's overtime, no, I know. Paramita Mataji.
Prabhuji, is it like that with the help of japa, continuous japa, we can purify the soul?
Yes. By engaging in spiritual activities, we purify ourselves.
Okay, Prabhuji.
By engaging in material activities, we make ourselves impure. Rohit Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. In the purport 2.20, there is this word vipaschit, and it is mentioned that the soul is full of knowledge. So, like, what full of knowledge the soul is with?
Soul is full of knowledge, yes, but the knowledge is covered.
Okay.
It's like the bulb is full of light, but if you put a paper on top of the bulb, then the light will not shine forth out of that paper. So the soul is full of knowledge, but then the knowledge is covered. The knowledge is there, accessible to the soul, but the soul is not looking there, it's looking in opposite, outside direction. I explained this when we discussed introduction, right? The consciousness of the soul should be inward, because the treasure of knowledge is inward, the treasure of happiness is inward. But instead of looking there, the soul is looking in another direction and trying to find the right thing in the wrong place. That example is given of that, musk deer who has this very fragrant musk in the navel, right? And the musk deer is running around here and there. Where is the smell coming from? Where is the smell coming from? But the smell is coming from its own body, part of the body. So this is what happens to us when we are in illusion. The knowledge is there, the happiness is there, the pleasure is there. But because of being in illusion, we are looking for it in the wrong place, and that leads to frustration. So what is the whole idea of studying the scriptures or practicing any kind of spiritual life? It is to change our way of thinking, our way of looking, our way of desiring, in which direction we are moving. Once it is changed, it's reoriented, then you are back to your normal position. Then you understand, I am Atma, self-realization. Right? So it's just like you have an original state, you have deviated from that for a far distance. Now the whole journey is to come back to that state. Right? Okay. Seema Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I had a question, like you said, soul is there and then the desires are there and the consciousness is there. I'm unable to figure out, are the three interrelated and where are these desires actually originating?
Desires are originating from the soul.
From the soul.
But then the desire gets filtered because of the different kinds of consciousness.
So is this consciousness then, sorry for interrupting, is this consciousness then being affected again by the outside environment that affects us?
Yes, it gets
So
affected.
that means at any point these desires can be altered. It is not then the fixed area of the soul. Do I understand it like that?
What?
I mean, like when we are saying that the soul is transgressing from one to another because of the desires and because how it had it, all the things. Now, there are three
the
things.
soul is moving from one place to another because of desire. It's not just the soul alone. The soul is moving with the subtle body. The subtle body has the mind, has the intelligence, has the false ego. Right? When you look at soul within the material world, don't picturize soul as soul alone, because the soul is not alone. The soul is along with the body.
Okay.
It's along with the body. It's either along with the gross body, and when there is death, the gross body is taken away, but the subtle body remains. Subtle body means the body having mind. So where are the desires stored? They are all stored in the mind. So the soul is moving with the mind.
So that means the soul has the mind. The soul has the consciousness.
Correct. The mind is with the soul. It's a part of the soul. But then there is spiritual mind, there is material mind. It's really complicated. We cannot cover it in Bhagavad-gita. We have to then go to another book called Srimad Bhagavatam to discuss this in detail.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Sunita Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Just want to ask about the immutable and unchangeable. What is the difference?
Immutable means cannot be destroyed.
Right.
Unchangeable means cannot be changed from one state to another. Right?
Okay, thank you.
Pankaj.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I want to know, while doing japa, what should be the condition of the mind? Means on what thoughts it should be allowed, and how do we, where do I engage my mind while doing japa?
When we do japa, when we chant the holy name of Krishna, we should put the mind on the name. We don't have to put it anywhere else. So when you are reading a book, then if your question applies to that, what would be the answer? When I'm reading a book, where should I put my mind? In the television, in the thoughts, in the kitchen, in the pizza on my table? Where should you put the mind? You should put the mind in the book, in the subject matter which you're reading. So when you are chanting japa, you are taking the names of Krishna, calling out the names of Krishna. Where should I put my mind? I should put my mind in that name. I should hear that name and put my mind there. That's the task that we need to do.
Yes, Prabhuji, but even in the mind got, kind of habitual, while focusing on mind, it's getting another thought.
That will happen because Krishna, as Arjuna will say, that's the nature of mind. It will jump from one thought to another thought. The whole idea of yoga is to bring the mind back. That's difficult. That needs practice. So yoga, when we say bhakti, meditation, it's not an easy thing because you are trying to control the mind. Control the mind. You are not letting the mind loose, not allowing it to go anywhere and everywhere. Right? So it takes practice. Initially, we all have lived lives with a very, very uncontrolled mind. We let it do anything and everything. Right? Now, from that state, we want to bring it to a state where you rule the mind, not that the mind rules you. So it will take time. It takes dedicated practice of years and years and years and years and years. That you bring the mind back from on what you want, to do, what you're supposed to do. So when we chant the holy names, it purifies the mind. It gives the mind that strength. And then slowly, as you start living purer and purer life, giving up the wrong things, then you get the strength to control the mind through the intelligence. We'll discuss this more in chapter 3, chapter 6, the whole process of dealing with the mind. Fine, thank you, Prabhu. Neha Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Slightly off-topic question. I don't know whether I'll be allowed. My question is, Lord Shiva in the form of Vishwanath is also called Vrishabhadvaja, also like Kripacharya?
I did not get, sorry?
Lord Shiva in the form of Vishwanath is also called Vrishabhadvaja.
Is also called?
Vrishabhadvaja.
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 That he must be having a chariot with bull as the flag. Vrishabhadvaja is that.
So Kripacharya also has.
Two people cannot have same flag. Do they have to be same person to have the same flag?
There's a shloka about Vishwanath.
You got my question, no?
Yes, Prabhuji, I got your question.
They need not be the same person, no, to have the same flag. They need not be the same person. Kripacharya is different, Lord Shiva is different.
Is he the form of Lord Shiva, Kripacharya?
No, not necessary. Just because they have the same flag, it's not necessary. Right? There's no logic behind it. Rohit Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Like how the mind has the function of thinking, feeling, and acting. Intelligence has the function of taking the decisions. Similarly, what function does the heart has? Or like what function the heart has. Heart.
What function? Which heart?
Our heart.
No, which heart? That's all. Physical heart, you're saying?
Both physical and subtle heart.
That is very easy. You didn't study biology. Physical heart is pumping blood.
No, that is there of supplying energy and blood. Apart from that, like.
So when you're talking about the subtle heart, subtle heart.
Subtle heart.
So subtle heart, the function of subtle heart is basically it's not an organ. Don't think that subtle heart is an organ. Yeah, it's that place which is where you have these 5 airs coming together. That's called heart. Hridi. You know, and what is the purpose of it? It is just a seat of the soul. That's its function, to hold the soul there.
Okay.
Right? To hold the soul there. Like, what is the purpose of the seat in the car? To hold the driver. That's the only purpose of the seat in the car, that the driver can be comfortably seated.
Okay.
Right? So the heart, the Hridi, is the place where the soul sits.
Okay.
In the 5 airs. So that's different from the physical heart. The physical heart has a lot of functions. But blood is coming in, blood is to be pumped out. You know, those things are there. When we talk about the subtle heart, it's just keeping the soul in one place.
So when we talk about like purifying the heart, that term comes.
You're not talking about purifying this heart, you know, with 4 chambers.
Yeah.
You're not talking about purifying this heart with 4 chambers. We're talking about actually purifying those 5 airs.
Okay.
5 life airs. You purify them. You know,
okay.
Those 5 life airs, prana. Okay.
Okay.
Prabhuji, they get purified by japa, nam japa.
It gets purified by many different activities. Nama japa is one of them. Right? It gets purified by studying the scriptures. When we are chanting Gita shlokas, that is also an act of purification. Any contact with spiritual energy will purify the heart. Any contact with spiritual energy. So you engage in any activity of bhakti, if it is surcharged with spiritual energy of Krishna, that will bring purification. So it can be chanting of japa, it can be reading of Bhagavad-gita, it can be visiting the temple and just taking darshan of the Supreme Lord, it can be eating prasadam. Any spiritual activity will purify the soul. Purification of soul means what? It's very simple. You see, the soul is already having something. There are layers of impurities. So what does purification mean? Basically, you have to remove those layers, right? And how do you remove those layers? You remove those layers by certain activities, which are basically providing nourishment to the soul's original position. The soul is spiritual. So the more I engage in spiritual activities, the more I become spiritually purified. And the more I engage in mundane material activities, the more the dirt on the spirit soul gets accumulated. So when we say yoga, yoga means what? Transforming your material activities into spiritual activities. It's called yoga. That will bring purification of the person and then reinstatement into the original position of the person. That's the whole idea. Seema, last question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for the opportunity again. Prabhuji, I wanted to know, you mentioned that there is Srimad Bhagavatam. Sorry for my little knowledge. Is it another book?
Yeah,
like
it's a different book. Bhagavad-gita has 700 shlokas. Srimad Bhagavatam has 18,000 shlokas. It's an advanced study of Bhagavad-gita.
Okay.
So it's a different book. Vrindarani Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Last class we were speaking about levels of instructions. Artha Shastra allows killing of 6 types of aggressors, but then Arjuna comments on the level of Dharma Shastra, and he says that he don't like to kill his family members. And after that, Krishna teaches him of the knowledge of Atma, this knowledge of Atma, where it belongs? Is it Jnana?
Jnana Shastra.
And when we speak about Artha, Kama, Dharma, what are all these?
These are different types of, when you say Artha, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, these are different goals, different purposes, right? So for fulfillment of each purpose, there are different scriptures. The scripture will talk about fulfillment of Dharma is called Dharma Shastra. The scripture that will talk about fulfillment of Artha is called Artha Shastra. Okay, so when you say Jnana Shastra, they are talking about Moksha. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. The final thing, the topmost thing, right? So that's the highest in comparison to the other three, Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. So Jnana Shastra. Now beyond Jnana Shastra, then there is Bhakti Shastra. That's beyond Jnana, that's Bhakti. So that takes one step further, a higher level. Okay, right? Fine. We'll stop here. Thank you so much. I hope you all are in tune with the course, doing the reading assignment and getting the answer to the questions, preparing yourself for the exam. So please don't procrastinate, because if it is like a mustard seed now, after a few weeks and few months, it will become like a mountain, and then you will feel like you are crushed under that mountain. so don't let that crush happen. Please deal with the mustard seeds as soon as you get them. So thank you so much. See you tomorrow.